Are they in? Yes, go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Lori O'Neill. I am the Georgia FTC head referee, and welcome to the head ref Q&A. I'm going to be speaking to you for about 20 minutes, during which you can type your questions into the Q&A if you like, or you can wait until the end and raise your hand, and they will unmute you to ask your question. No. I am trying to move ahead in my slide. We're going to go to a PowerPoint slide right now. Of course, you know that the first thing, if you know me, the first thing I'm going to talk about is reading the game manual, right? So yes, the game manual came out last Saturday at kickoff. I hope you all have at least skimmed through it. You need to read it carefully. Lots of good information top to bottom. It is a living document. They are going to update it during the season. It is the only official place to go for the rules, and they'll update it as things happen, as people ask questions, as people need clarifications, they will update it. And in fact, they have already updated it this past Thursday. And I'm going to give you an example to show you how important it is to keep up with it. But first, the QR code that you're seeing right now, that is a link for your coach to sign up to get emails whenever a new team update comes on. And then you'll know that you need to go check it out. It comes with a team update sheet that tells you exactly what changed in this version of the manual. All right, the team updates we've had so far. Team update 0 came out last Saturday with first game manual, and it talked about things that have changed since last season. So that's very interesting to look at. On Thursday, a new version of the manual came out. You need to download it, get rid of the version you got last Saturday, download the new one, and they changed, among other things, they changed the rules for descoring from the ramp. Before there was nothing in there about scoring from the ramp. Now we know you can't do that. You cannot not only not descore from your opponent's ramp, but you can't descore from your own ramp. Another thing that last Saturday you were allowed to do, but as of Thursday you cannot, is launch into the opponent's goal. So don't do that. It's no longer allowed. And there was a clarification of the extension limits, where they're saying that the extension limits have to be mechanical. You can't use software to hold your robot into the inside the extension limits. Another thing that has changed this year is ranking points. The ranking points are the points that are used to decide which teams lead the alliances in the playoffs. So last year, you get 2 points for winning a match, you get 1 point for tie, 0 points for losing, and there was this thing called tiebreaker points. They threw out the tiebreaker points, and this year, you can get up to 6 ranking points for one match. And how you do that is there are 3 points for winning, still 1 point for a tie. There's still 0 points for losing. And there are opportunities to get bonus ranking points. And I'm going to tell you about those now. There are thresholds that go with each of the type of bonus ranking points. And those thresholds will get more challenging as you go from stage to stage in the season. Until your league tournament, I'm going to give you those thresholds. But if you get to state, the thresholds will be higher. It'll be more difficult. If you get to championships, they'll be even higher. The first one is a movement RP. It takes your score for leaving the launch line in autonomous, adds it to your alliance's score for the base, getting into base at the end of the match, puts them together, and if they add up to 16 or above, you get 1 more ranking point. The goal RP is basically a count of how many artifacts you scored into your goal and went through and or either came through as classified or overflow. Counting all of those, if they add up to 36 or above, you get one more ranking point. And pattern ranking points. If your points for the pattern are more than 18 or 18 or above, then you'll get another ranking point. And I want to use this opportunity to zoom in on this picture to show you what the how the pattern points are total, because it's not obvious. If you remember 2 years ago, we had the mosaics, and if you saw a mosaic pattern, that would score it. This is different. So what they do is at the beginning of the match, we randomize the obelisk. It comes out with a motif. And let's see, the motif is green, purple, purple. So what you do is, starting at the bottom of the ramp, you go green, purple, purple, green, purple, purple, green, purple, purple, 3 times, because there are 9 spots on the ramp. And if every single artifact on that ramp that happens to be in the right spot in that pattern will get 2 points. So what I like to do now is go to the camera so I can show you things on the field as I continue talking. So. On camera. All right. So right now you see how the field is going to be set up at the beginning of the match. I'm going to set it up like somewhat like that drawing. So the drawing had, oh no, it had a purple one and then a green one and then a purple one, and it went on from there. So if you had green, purple, purple as your motif for this match, this one is not green, so it doesn't match. You don't get points. This one's supposed to be purple. It doesn't match. You don't get points. This one's supposed to be purple. Yay, 2 points. So that's how pattern scoring goes. I'm going to talk about the other scoring in the match. Oh, I still need to go forward in my PowerPoint. Well, I'll wing it for now. In autonomous, you get a score for leaving the launch line. Your robot has to start on a launch line. And if at the end of autonomous, your robot is no longer on any launch line, you will get points for that. Am I still on camera?
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me go to where I'm talking. There we go. Artifacts. To score artifacts, they must go into the top of the goal. They must go through the arch and then through the square onto the ramp in order to be scored. If they go directly onto the ramp, they will be counted as classified. You get 3 points for that. If your ramp is full and they go on top of those, then you will get 1 point as overfull. And always remember that you must launch from a launch zone. You've got 2 launch zones, one here in front of the field and one this big area in the back of the field. You can be in the launch zone or on a launch line when you launch. That's where you need to be launching. The depot is something that's scored at the very end of the match when everything has come to rest. The depot is not an area. You think it would be, it's not. It's just this line back here, this white line that goes across your goal. That's the depot. So if there are any artifacts that are overhanging that piece of tape, you're going to get 1 point for each of those. But keep in mind that that area, well, first of all, that those artifacts roll quite easily, and that area is not protected. So if you have artifacts there, your opponent can come and just pick them up and use them as they wish. And the other way to get points is base. Base is, we have a robot. I don't know if you can see it really well. if a robot is fully in base, you get 10 points. If it's partially in base, you get 5 points. And I want to make clear now, because somebody asked this question in the Q&A that we had during this week, that it's not in the way that we have defined in previously. You have to be supported by the tile that's within the base area. So you can't just stick your something out into the base area and with your robot totally supported outside the base area, then it won't count. Your robot has to be supported by something in the base area. So that's 5 points for partial, 10 points if it's fully there, and another 10-point bonus if both of your robots are fully in base. So how do you set up for a match? A robot must be positioned on the field such that it meets all of these requirements. It must be over a launch line. And keep in mind, the depot is considered a launch line. So you need to be on a launch line, either in the front of the field or in the back. You have to be touching either your goal, your alliance's goal, or the field perimeter, you being the robot. Now, keep in mind, I want to point out that your alliance station is opposite side of the field from your goal. So, and I don't know if you can see it real well, but we have the red alliance station over here. The red robots are going to be setting up on this side of the field, either on this launch line or on that launch line on this half of the field. So you'll be crossing the field to place your robots. Your robot must be fully contained on that side of the field. It must not be attached to, entangled with, or suspended from any of the field elements. It must not hang over the field wall at all. And that's, here's a good place to point out. This is the way that the manual reads right now. Anything I say, as I said before, can change, which is why you have to keep up with those team updates. Anyway, I don't know the best place for you to see it. It used to be that you can start with overhanging the top of the wall. Right now, you can't do that. You have to stay within the field fully. So practice that with your robot when you're designing your robot. We'll talk about more about robot design in a couple of minutes. You can preload up to 3 artifacts. The limit this year is to control of up to three artifacts, and you can preload up to 3 artifacts. And like last season, you must select an op mode. Whether or not you're using an autonomous program, you must select an op mode. Human player, there are some changes about the human player. One is that there is no human player badge this year. The drive team is made up, there's 1 coach badge, so there's 1 person acting in the coach role, and up to 3 drive team badges. This will make it easier for you to switch out who is acting as the human player. We'll talk about what the human player does in a second. So both teams on Alliance can bring all 4, up to 4 people to the match. And we have a nice big Alliance area here for you all to stand in. Human player, their job is to place and remove artifacts from the loading zone, which is this area here. So the red loading zone is here, and you've got an area, this comes with the field. You don't have to make your own little box. The field will have those for you to hold artifacts outside the field. Remember that you can only have a maximum of 6 artifacts outside the field at a time. So, but you are allowed to take artifacts out of the field if you want to, put them in. And in fact, the human player can put an artifact directly into a robot. What a human player cannot do is touch the robot or even touch the robot through the artifact. So When I mean there, we've got a robot here. This is a great robot, nice and small for getting in base, but not so great for holding artifacts. Anyway, if I'm a human player and if this was in there, if I touch it like this, that would get a penalty. So I need to be able to drop it in. Also, if the artifact is already in the robot, the human player can't grab it because then they'd be touching it at the same time as the robot. And of course, the human player cannot touch the robot directly. Make sure that you can just drop it in. Also, make sure to go to section 11.4.6, where they have all of the human player safety and play rules. Now I want to talk about the protected zones. There are 4 protected zones on the field. There's the loading zone, the secret tunnel, gate zone, and base. For all of these, I think the rules for those are G424 through 427. For all of them, it doesn't matter which robot initiated the contact for the penalty being called. Doesn't matter which one. However, there is a difference in whether one robot or the other is actually in the zone. For everything except the secret tunnel, it doesn't matter which robot is in the zone when the contact happens. So let's say in the gate zone here, if a red robot was on the gate zone and blue robot, and there was contact with a blue robot, that would get the penalty. If it was switched around, if the blue robot was in the gate zone and the red came and made contact, the red would still get the penalty. Same for loading zone and base. For secret tunnel, what's different about the secret tunnel is it does matter which robot is actually in the zone. So if the blue robot is in the red secret tunnel and the red robot comes and tries to get something from their secret tunnel and there's contact, the blue robot will get penalized. However, if the red robot is in their own secret tunnel and a blue robot contacts it, as long as that blue robot is not in the secret tunnel, they're good. What that also means is that when the blue robot is over here dealing with its gate, you need to make sure that your robot does not go into the secret tunnel, because that's the red secret tunnel. This is the blue gate, red secret tunnel. They're pretty close, so you got to be very careful in that area. And the other thing, the other difference in the zone is the base zone is only protected during the last 20 seconds of the match. All right. And now the last thing I'm going to talk about are things that you need to consider when you're designing your robot, which I know you're all doing right now here at the beginning of the season. So I talked about the robot not overhanging the field wall. That's one of the things you need to consider when at the start of the match. Let's talk about those expansion limits. Extremely different from whatever we've had before. The horizontal expansion limit is 18 by 18 for the entire match. You cannot expand outside the 18 by 18 inch square throughout the entire match. That means that all of your mechanisms, having your launching mechanism and your intake mechanism, no matter what it is, whether it has tubing or whatever, all of that has to stay in within 18 by 18 inches. The same goes vertically for most of the match, but in the last 20 minutes, if your robot is outside a launch zone, it can grow taller to 38 inches. Last 20 seconds and outside of the launch zone, you can get taller. I talked about the limit of 3 artifacts controlling 3 artifacts at a time is a great idea to design your robot so that it can't hold more than 3. That takes away some of the pressure. You still have to worry about controlling robots by pushing them, but at least you know you won't have 3 stuck in your robot. And of course, try and design your robot so they can't get stuck in a place where you can't get them out. And as I talked about before with the human player, you need to design your robot so that it's easy for the human player to drop the artifact in without touching the robot. And lastly, the max number of servos you can have has been 12 for many years. I don't know how many. Now it has been decreased to 10, so keep that in mind. And that is all I had for my presentation. I am open to questions. Moderator, do we have any questions in the Q&A? We're looking to see if we have questions.
How would one robot feeding artifacts to another work? Can you launch artifacts anywhere in the field, in the air, or on ground if they are not being scored?
Okay, the only place you can launch an artifact is from a launch zone. So there's this launch zone in the front. You can be on a launch line. There's that whole launch zone in the back, including the entire depot. Those are the only places you can launch an artifact, and that's any type of launching. Whether you're rolling it, that's considered a launch, or launching it through the air. And there are no limits on how high the launch can go or how fast or whatever. They don't have any limits on that yet. I don't know. I don't think they plan to. And did I answer the entire question? I don't know if I got the beginning part of that question. Said that, how would one robot feeding artifacts to another work? Well, I'm not going to tell you how to do that. You would not, unless you're in a launch zone, you would not be able to launch it. That I know. Okay. Do you have any more questions? Is that it?
That's the one we have. You can also raise your hand and we can unmute you.
Does anybody have a question they want to ask? Oh, okay.
We got it.
Can a robot be stacked upon another in endgame? Yeah. Can a robot be stacked upon another in endgame? Yep, I think that's the way to do it. I think that's maybe the only way. The video showed one robot getting, taller so that the other one could go underneath. That's one way of doing it. The other way is for somehow getting on top, and that is why a robot can get taller in the last 20 seconds to help you try and get 2 robots fully in the base for that 10-point bonus. And what was the question you asked? Something about, oh yeah, and if you're not allowed to intentionally put an artifact outside the field, but if you're trying to score and it goes out the back, which I think is going to happen a lot, so if you can reach it somehow from your alliance station, you can get it, or somebody at the field, one of the field personnel can get it, and we'll give it to anybody in your alliance station, and they could pass it on down to whoever is your human player. And if that human player already has 6 artifacts outside the field, they just need to, as soon as they can, get one, put one back into the field so they don't have more than 6. We have another question. But if one robot is on another, then that robot is no longer supported by, aha, you caught me, because I didn't say you can be supported directly or indirectly by the tile. So that answers that question. You can even be, if somehow your robot is stuck on top of an artifact that's in the tile, that counts too, as long as the weight of your robot is supported by the tile. Is dropping an artifact to a teammate or disposing it from your robot allowed outside of launch zones? Yes, dropping an artifact onto a teammate's robot is allowed. That would not be considered launching. Disposing it from your robot. Yes, dispose it from your robot as long as you're not launching it. So that would mean you can't just throw it away so that it rolls. You can just drop it. Are autonomous points scored again at the start of teleop, or do they only count for autonomous? Oh, okay, they do not score again. So if we're talking about the artifact scoring into the goal, they are scored as they happen. So if we see it go through the right way, as they come out of the square, that's when they're scored. When you can see whether they're classified or overflow, that's when they're scored. Later in the match, you can use your gate to make them come out or not. But if the same ones are sitting there, they are not scored again for overflow or classifying. However, if they match the pattern, they will get scored again. So the pattern is scored at the end of autonomous and at the end of the match. So if they're in the right pattern and they're there at autonomous, they'll get scored there. And at the end of the match, they'll get scored again there. And your example is if you scored 3 artifacts, does it just count as 3 for auto or 3 for auto and 3 for teleop? So I think I've answered that. The scoring in the goal, only once. Scoring in the on the ramp, if they're still there, it might be twice. All right, talk about the latch. Is the pattern scored as the final configuration? Why would you want to open the latch and release the artifacts? Okay, so I think you're talking about the gate. Why would you want to release them? If in autonomous, you put them in and none of them match the pattern, or only one of them match the pattern, and you could do better than that. You can get rid of them and you can try again until you get the pattern that you want on this ramp. So that's one of the reasons I can think of that you would want to do that. The other reason would be when you're scoring, you get 3 points if they land directly on the ramp. Once they go to overflow, it's only 1 point per goal. So once your ramp gets full, if you want to keep getting 3 points, then you want to flush your ramp and be able to get more classified artifacts. Can you assist another robot in parking during endgame, like carrying them or having a hook attached to them? Yes, you can. As far as I know, yeah, you can. There may be, read carefully about hooking into another robot, but as long as they're your own teammate, I don't think you'll get penalized for that. There's definitely a penalty for reaching into the other team's robot. But if it's your own partner, I don't think there's penalty for that. Is it correct to assume that a robot that can extend its height for the endgame, even though the robot must fit 18 by 18 by 18. Based on what I saw from the video, one robot raised itself up to fit in the box in order to achieve points while the other robot occupies that space. Right. I think I talked about that a little before. So during the last 20 seconds of the match is the only time that the robot can get higher than 18 inches. And like you said in that video, it could get higher, it could go up to 38 inches so that maybe another robot can go underneath it. That was what they showed in the video. If I didn't answer your question correctly, you could ask again. This is probably in the rule manual, but Everything's in the rule manual. If it's not there, I can't say it. But if the robot is supported completely inside the tile, but a portion is outside the vertical plane of the zone, is it considered completely in? That is not said specifically. I know what you're asking. So if it is complete, all of its weight is supported inside the tile, even if something is sticking out, that weight is still supported inside the tile as long as the base of the robot is all in. So I would say, and I think that you should ask this question on the Q&A to make this obvious to all of the referees around the nation. I really encourage you to ask this question online. The way I read it is, even if part of the robot was sticking out, but all of its weight. I think this is sticking out a little. This part is sticking out and the rest of it is in. All of the weight is supported by inside the tile. I think you get the base points for being fully in. What happens to artifacts shot out of the game field? Okay, I think I talked about that. Are they reintroduced into the game through the human player or not part of the game? They are reintroduced to the closest alliance member, and the alliance member has to get that to the person who can put them into the loading zone, who's acting as human player. We will get that to you as quickly as we can, and if you can reach them yourself, you can pull them in. What happens to, oh, I just said that. Can you give another team alliance partner a pre-inspected part for them to use with you in game? No, no. Each robot must use only its own parts. How complex would a part have to be for it to be allowed or not allowed? That I can't answer. So I encourage you to ask that one on the game forum as well, the Q&A. The official Q&A, which I think opens on September 22nd, because I'm not an expert on the robot part rules, but I'm pretty sure I saw in there that you can't share parts. Do the points still count if you open the gate to release the balls? Yes. So as I said before, they are counted when they go through here and go onto the ramp, period. And keep that score even when you release them from the ramp. Excellent questions, everybody. Right now, I don't see any questions. Is there any? Oh, there's another one. Okay. How many artifacts can the human player control in their hands at once? There's no rule around that. So as many as they can juggle. Any more? Does anybody have their hand up? Want to? I have somebody here in the room who has their hand up. I don't know if he's joking.
Can I score my opposing alliance's goal?
Ah, well, I said that at the beginning. I'll reiterate it. No, you cannot score in your opposing alliance's goal. As of last Saturday, you could. As of Thursday, you can't. Because of that team update. You can only score in your own goal. And you cannot score on the ramp. You can't score directly to the ramp either. That would be a penalty. You have to go through the goal. I have another question. Can you control more than 3 artifacts at once via bulldozing intentionally or by accident? With the time limit for this, what would the time limit be? How would incidental intentional control be determined? Okay, so the rules around that control haven't really changed. Plowing versus herding, that kind of thing. So if you are herding artifacts to an advantageous position, which really could be anywhere depending on what you're trying to do in the game, or for a certain amount of time. You asked if there's a time limit. There is no set time limit. It is the judgment of the referee of whether you're herding versus plowing. If you're just plowing through artifacts to get from one place to another, that should not be penalized. And of course, you have to count the artifacts that you're holding inside your robot, plus the ones that you may be herding across the field. Those would count. Can a robot partially reach into the secret tunnel to obtain artifacts while being free from the contact penalties associated with the zone? The answer is yes. You're asking for trouble, but yes, unless contact occurs, there's no penalty. If some of the robots inside the zone and most of it is outside, what status would it have? That's still considered in. So if you're in the opponent's zone, secret tunnel zone, at all, even just a little bit, and a red robot comes on blue here, red robot comes and contacts me, you're gonna get the penalty. So that's why you have to be real careful when you're at your gate, because even if you're at your gate, you're trying to do something with your gate, and if you happen to be inside the red secret tunnel, you lose your gate protection because you're in their secret tunnel. If they touch you, that's the penalty we're gonna give. So best thing is to stay out of there, or if you see, you want to go after one of those artifacts in the red secret tunnel, and you don't see any red robots anywhere near you, yeah, go get it. You can. You're allowed. All right. Any other questions? How are we doing on time? Oh, got plenty of time. All right, if there are no other questions, we can end the call. Yeah, okay. Goodbye, everyone. It was great. Your questions were wonderful. Have a great, great season. Good luck.
Oh, that was good. I think it worked really well.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think?